Hello, all of you who are gathered there at the ICPWE in Kinnaid today to remember Bapsi Sidhwa. Wakas Khwaja here from Atlanta, Georgia, sharing a few of my own thoughts on the subject with you. What do you feel when a writer whose work you have long admired, studied, and taught transitions from this world? How does it affect you if that writer, almost a decade and a half older, has also extended to you the privilege of a consideration, a friendship over the years? Do you have the words accurately to express those emotions, feelings, and ideas, complex and inchoate as they were to begin with, even if they somehow rose to the surface and clarified themselves somewhat? I've been wrestling with these thoughts ever since Bapsi Sidhwa passed away on Christmas Day last year. The passing away on Christmas Day further complicates the conundrum. Since coincidence or happenstance, now that the season and its signature commemoration have come in alignment with this transition, its serendipitous link with fertility and fruitfulness cannot be ignored or discounted. Even in the timing of her death, it seems, Bapsi has, tongue in cheek, and a characteristic twinkle in her eye sketched for us, just that faint shadow of a suggestion that leaves us with a smile on our lips, even as we mourn the physical loss of a person. She reminds us how she always could bring out the comic, the droll, the amusing, the absurd, the silly vibrations out of events and circumstances, the most mundane or tragic, the most consequential or ordinary. She always had this sense of fun and wonder affianced to a spicy sense of humor. Oh, Babsy, what a lively, shimmering, whimsical persona you wore as you confronted and processed in your fiction the most difficult and unsettling issues, the most tangled events and circumstances, historical or domestic, and characters as complex, as real, as recognizably human as any the polychromatic spectacle our passing world offers. Memorable, your vignettes of Jinnah and Gandhi, teasing and testing in one case, delightfully irreverent in the other. And who can forget the coming of age story of lame Lenny, curious beyond words, precocious, sharp witted, and cunningly shrewd in her observations, and yet, for all that, so credulous, so naive, as to be drawn in by cousins' enticements to at least a preliminary introduction to sexual initiation, and then easily taken in for a far more disastrous outcome by Ice Candy Man's blandishments to reveal her beloved Aya's whereabouts. I could go on, and probably in my head, I continue to do so, off and on, many a time, recalling the characters and situations of a fiction as if they were real, as if my memory of them were that of real people, real situations. My absolute favorite of all her writings, though, is that ribald, naughty tour de force of a picaresque novel about the Parsi community, the Crow Eaters, whose characters, the quirky and indomitable, charmingly impertinent mother in law, Gerbano, the duplicitous, rascally man of many devices, hero and scoundrel all at the same time, Faridun Jangalwala, Freddy for short, who makes a fortune through his hard work and enterprise as much as by playing the system to his advantage. And the wife, Putli, the word for puppet, who, despite her outwardly submissive and traditional role, shows remarkable spunk and independence behind it. This is a rollicking joyride of a tale, not without its passages of grief and loss, but a work in the vein of the greatest comic storytellers. I am reminded particularly of Dickens, even more specifically of the comic verve and sweep of Dickens's Pickwick Papers, a novel Bapsi refers to in one of her interviews she was obsessed by in her younger days, having read it at least 5 times by the time she was 18. I will end this remembrance of mine, this tribute to her memory, with an anecdote from the first time I met her. Oh, it was around 1984. Another year one cannot mention without a literary allusion sparking in one's brain. And it was in the house she lived in for a while in the Lahore cantonment, or defense, as it has come to be called over the years. It was a small gathering of young writers and journalists, I at the time working outside my law practice in the evenings as editor in charge with a new venture Shakilur Rahman of Jung was planning from Lahore that came in time to be launched as the news, to meet with a visiting American professor, or novelist actually, Rosalind Brown. I remember the animated conversation, the vivacious quips and repartees, the warm hospitality, the luscious peaches and plums after the meal, and Bapsi introducing me as the enfant terrible of Pakistani literature. There's no one he has spared in his reviews, she said. I wonder why he has not meted out the same treatment to my work. Just a brief tinkle of her distinctive laughter when I proffered that I indeed admired her work very much. And the subject was closed as one after the other we took our leave for the night and went our way. And so conclude the brightest moments, the most precious days of our lives, and the seasons we inhabit on this planet. Farewell, Bapsi, and may your work live long and continue to inspire generations of readers and admirers, as it has done this last half century or so, far into the future.